Hello! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another tier ranking video where we take a look at every single team that is in the World Cup. This time, I have decided to rank each country based on how quality I think their defense is. I do have to clarify some things. Number one, I heavily base this list on how the side looks on paper, along with how they perform internationally. So, both of those factors will be equated. Number two, I'm well aware that a team that I place low can definitely turn up defensively at the World Cup. In fact, all these teams should be very proud that they're in the tournament in the first place. Number three, I'm not going to go too in depth with the goalkeeper of each team. I'm in specific looking at the center backs and the fullbacks and all that. Obviously, goalkeepers are also crucial, but I'm not really counting them in this video because I want to make a separate video based off the goalkeepers. Maybe I should start with that, but oh well. This list took me a very long time to make, guys. I probably started with the toughest position to judge off for each team. It's easier to go off of attackers and midfielders and goalkeepers. It's easier to monitor all the stats of each of the players. There's obviously a lot more research that goes on to defenders than just that. So yeah, obviously there will be some controversy in this video, but if there is, just let me know your opinion in the comments below. No hate to any of the teams. Good luck to every single team that I'm doubting potentially in this video to prove themselves. I figured to start with defenders first, as I don't really want to judge attackers yet. The season isn't over, so any numbers I give can change within weeks. I'll wait till that ends first before I dive into all the attackers. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below to this list. Hit that like button. Let's get into it. Starting off with Group A, as always. Going to be starting off talking about Qatar. Now, overall, I do have some belief in this team, as you should never underestimate the hosts of a tournament. However, defensively on paper, I don't think this side has much to show off for. This side is filled with many players that are unknown by many, as they all play in the Qatari League, and I think they have a lot of strong points. But still, they've conceded loads of goals against all the teams in Group A for the World Cup qualifiers for Europe. While Serbia scored 4 against them twice, Portugal scored 3 against them twice, and Ireland were able to score 4 against them in one of the matchups. Sure, there are some defenders on the national team I admire, such as Bassam Al-Rawi, but I'm sorry, Qatar, if we're looking at this team as a whole, I don't think their defense is a strong point. I'm gonna have to be cruel and put them at the bottom for now. But let's move on to Ecuador now. So much young talent is on this national team, as we all know, and the Ecuadorian defense has proven recently that they're able to hold their ground and keep many of their matches very cagey. I really admire this squad, so I do hope the best for them in this World Cup. And their best players in the squad, in my opinion, happen to be defenders, Hincapié and Estupiñán. Hincapié and Bayer Leverkusen, one of the most exciting young talents even in the Bundesliga. Estupiñán, a very solid fullback for Villarreal, the underdog in the UCL that made it all the way to the semifinals. Obviously, there are many other defenders to go on about, but those are the two that stick out to me. Obviously, across the entire Ecuadorian national team, there are many solid players to talk about in the midfield and the attack as well. But I gotta say, I'm very impressed with their defense. I'm gonna put them all the way at B because I think they can highly prove their worth. The only thing I somewhat worry about is maybe the lack of experience, since many of them are youngsters, and their away record in the World Cup qualifiers wasn't pretty. Still though, I love the quality this side has in the back. I think B is a fair rating, maybe A if you want to be a bit more generous. Now taking a look at Senegal, like I say in nearly every video, this side is the most stacked team in Africa. The two defenders that immediately come to mind for many are Koulibaly and Diallo. Other solid defenders include Cisse on Olympiacos, Sek on Royal Antwerp, and although the others on the national team are very solid, most of their fullbacks play as subs or reserves in their club. Ballo Torre on AC Milan, Youssef Sabali on Real Betis, Bonassar on Bayern Munich. You do have Salio Cis though, who starts often for AS Nancy, but this club is in the second French league and are currently in last place. Regardless though, Senegal usually leave their scorelines very low scoring. In fact, in competitive matches, they haven't conceded more than 1 goal since 2018 to Madagascar. Senegal have clearly proven their worth in the back line. Obviously, they did concede an unlucky own goal against Egypt in the first leg of the World Cup qualifiers, but I think this side has proved themselves. They just won the Africa Cup of Nations. With that being said, I gotta give Senegal an A. They definitely have enough quality to keep their matches low scoring. Last team in this group, we're looking at Netherlands. I'm just gonna say right now, I think they're at the top, S category for me. They have the best center back in the world at the moment, Virgil van Dijk, along with 2 center backs playing for top clubs in the Serie A, De Ligt and De Vrij. Fullbacks with top physicality such as Dumfries and they still have so much depth if these options aren't available. Owen Wijndal, who's a spectacular high-pressing defender, has 10 assists to his name this season, and is even the captain for AZ Alkmaar. Ake on Manchester City, Malaki on Feyenoord, Hans Hatteboer on Atalanta. Netherlands definitely have everything to show off for in terms of quality in their defense. S for me. Let me know if you disagree with that. So that's the end of Group A. Let's move on to Group B, starting off with England. Now, it might be hard to compete with the likes of Netherlands, so much quality there, but you can't judge this side off of the one player, Harry Maguire. He does not define the entire back line of the England defense. And even if you want to judge it off of him, he actually plays well for the national team. Something is just cursed when he wears the United shirt. Regardless, we're far away from the World Cup, aren't we? Loads of questions as to who Southgate will end up selecting. If Maguire continues to disappoint, we could finally see Tomori make an appearance, who has been exceptional for AC Milan. John Stones is not a regular starter for City, but not many people deny his defensive ability. Tyrone Mings on Aston Villa has proved he is a true warrior. Marc Guéhi on Crystal Palace was tested by Southgate, and he looks like a coolly composed yet physical center back who we can see improve over this year as well. He's only 21 years old. It's nice to see him get some recognition. But another headache Southgate will have to face is who to select at right back. He has 3 tremendous options. Reece James, Kyle Walker, and Trent Alexander-Arnold obviously have all been proving themselves. Luke Shaw, although United are struggling right now and he's injured, he's proven himself at Euro 2020 that he is a top fullback, and England obviously made it all the way to the final in Euro 2020. Sure, the media likes to overhype this side, but I truly think they deserve the praise right now. With the depth and options Southgate has as to who to select for the national team defensively, sure, maybe they don't have a Van Dijk on their team, but England, for me, are also in the S category. England, to me, look like a side that won't be conceding many goals at the World Cup. Let's see how all that ages, and let's also see my pick for Iran. I never shut up about this national team's attack. But what about their defense? I'm sorry, Iranians, I definitely don't rank it as highly. But with that being said, there's still a lot of hope for the national team. They can definitely come together collectively and make the matches cagey, similar to how it was in 2018. Despite them getting knocked out in the group, they put off very, very good fights with the likes of Spain and Portugal. But still, when you look at the players individually, I don't know if they have enough quality to have a high ranking in this video. I obviously love Moharami on Dinamo Zagreb. There's also Hosseini, who plays in Turkey, Kanani, who plays in Qatar, and the fullback Nuraf Khan. Iran, you know I love you guys, but on paper, if we were going to compare this side to the others in terms of quality, I'm going to have to give you guys a C. Like I said, as a unit, they proved that they can get the job done. And I do see them delivering cagey matchups in this World Cup regardless, but I can't say the quality in the defense is the same as the other teams above. And you already know I'd rank you highly for the attack. Lots of love to you, Iran. Now for the USA. Now, although I haven't been praising this team too much, there actually are some decent options on the back line, but most of them are fullbacks. Anthony Robinson on Fulham obviously had a great career, where his club has just been promoted to the Prem. Serginho Dest on Barcelona, we haven't seen him have the best year while also suffering some injuries, but we all know his quality. At center back though, you got Richards on Hoffenheim, Long on Red Bull, who's very quick, Walker Zimmerman, one of Berhalter's favorites who actually has solid moments, Brooks on Wolfsburg. Might come to a surprise that USA has a lot of depth, but I still have to somehow play this in with how they work structurally. And right now, to me, the USA backline does look like a mess here and there. I'm going to give them a C as well, but for different reasons compared to Iran. Like I said, I think USA has great options in the back, but I don't think Berhalter takes advantage of what he's got. With that being said, although the USA's defense is solid on paper, I still don't think it's the best trait of the national team. Just a few too many times they look like a mess. In the future, I think they definitely have potential to be a B or A ranking, but for now, I'm leaving them at C. Now in this video, I will be including all the playoff teams that have not yet qualified for the World Cup, but are still in contention to do so. But I will be a little bit more brief with them compared to the other teams I just went over. So starting off with Wales, I think this team is such a hit or miss in terms of their defensive department, as when you look at the players individually, not much to show off about. But still, they usually try to take advantage of the defenders they have, either play 5 in the back or 3, and utilize those left and right mids to drop down a bit. Decent talent there that can improve in the future, such as Neco Williams. But yeah, in the occasions where they sometimes try to play 4 in the back, it very much does not work out well for them, such as losing to Denmark in the Euros 4-0. It's not a regular occurrence though. This side does leave national teams struggling very often actually, so I'm going to say Wales deserve a C ranking. Now for Scotland, the national team is regarded to be very strong defensively with obviously the likes of Robertson, their best player. They pulled through many times to make it close with many of the teams they face. The system works out well for them, but when you look at the likes of their center backs, you've got players like Liam Cooper and Grant Hanley, both playing on struggling teams in the Prem this season. Regardless though, these players do well for their national team. In terms of all the playoff teams right now in this group, I think they are the best amongst them. I'm going to say Scotland deserve a B. Now for Ukraine. Look, lots of love to the Ukrainian national team, but the weakest part of the team is the defense. In particular, the center back role. You can obviously make arguments about fullbacks like Zinchenko, but this lad usually plays in the midfield for the national team. I don't mean to be harsh to you guys, but too many defensive errors are present in the national team, and there's not enough quality to show for compared to the other positions. Ukraine, you know I love you, but I think this side deserves a D ranking. There's a lot of expectations for European teams, and Ukraine defensively don't live up to that hype. Yes, they made it all the way to the quarterfinals in Euro 2020, but what happened in the quarterfinals? They lost to England 4-0. That's enough of Group B. Let's move on to Group C now, starting off with Argentina. Now, if this were 4 years ago, I definitely wouldn't be giving Argentina a very high ranking. In fact, this always seemed to be a weak point of the national team. But it is insane how much Argentina have improved over the recent years. Otamendi got a lot of criticism in the past, but now he seems to have totally changed his role, playing as a leader in the back line whenever he plays. Lisandro Martinez, obviously a very exciting talent from Ajax, who is a center back along with Tagliafico at left back, Cunha on Sevilla, Lucas Martinez Cuarta from Fiorentina. At right back, you have 3 exciting talents emerging who will be competing for that role. Argentina not only have a more consistent back line, they also have way more depth compared to previous years. And obviously, this side has not lost a single World Cup qualifier game. The results speak for themselves, don't they? Do I really think the Argentinian defense really lives up to the name of the likes of England and Netherlands, though? I'm going to say they're just short, but so close though. Finishing at A, to me, still a very high ranking Argentina should be very proud of. There's so many defenders I didn't even name, like Romero from Tottenham. The depth is absolutely insane, and I have a lot of faith that Argentina can prove to be a world-class team at this World Cup. I'm leaving them just short of A. I know I'm going to get some criticism for that, but whatever. Let's move on to Saudi Arabia. Although I said in the past a strong point of this team is their defense, do I really think the players individually compare to the likes of the other teams in this tournament? To me, in some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. Regardless, though, I think a lot of people are writing off this side as all their players basically play in the Saudi League, which makes people not very familiar with the squad. Al-Shahrani, Al-Sahafi, Madou, the others have all proved their worth, grabbing first place in the World Cup qualifier group over Japan. It's easy to write this side, you gotta give them some credit. Maybe we could see some leakage in goals like we saw in 2018 where they lost to Russia 5-0 on the opening match day. I feel like a lot of people would be putting them at the bottom. I'm gonna say Saudi Arabia deserve a C. Now for Poland. Yes, in recent history, Poland have not been superb at major tournaments, despite having quality players. But now, the side could be more hopeful than ever. Not only a new manager, but also a great talent this season. Matty Cash has changed his nation from England to Poland. He had a great season at Aston Villa, where he played in every single Premier League match this season. Bednarek has had a solid season himself at Southampton and can definitely serve as a rock in this World Cup campaign. You've also got Berezinski, a versatile defender on Sampdoria. Glick obviously aging and not the same player as a few years ago, but still a player with loads of experience. This might come off as a generous pick to some. Regardless of your thoughts on Poland, I think they have the quality. The problem is, will they gel well together finally in a major tournament? I'm going to say they deserve a B ranking. Poland could potentially lock some teams down in this World Cup. We shall see. Now moving on to Mexico. Although Mexico has been getting some criticism for cutting a lot of their matches close in the World Cup qualifiers, they still finished second, tying points with Canada, and still did not concede a crazy amount of goals, which means the defense is not doing too badly for themselves. You've got the veteran Hector Moreno, the second most capped player on the national team. Arroyo on Celta Vigo, a very reliable option recently. Gallardo and some other youngsters making a name for themselves. Arteaga on Genk, for example. Vasquez on Genoa. Although Mexico always gets knocked out in the round of 16s in this tournament, they never really seem to massively struggle defensively. I'm going to put them at the B ranking. Now moving on to Group D, starting off with France. We all know how amazing this squad is on paper. One of the best, if not the best squad in this tournament. Some people are predicting that the World Cup curse will continue. And if it does, I think the defense will be the ones to point fingers at. Even though there are some fantastic players in the back, we have seen them collapse in the Euros against Switzerland, and some of these stars have not had the best year. Banking on the World Cup curse is such a situational argument though. When you look at the France squad overall, there's no doubting how amazing this side is. The quality and the depth as well. If Iran continues to disappoint, you still got other solid options to fill in his role. I'm going to be giving France an S. Although this can age very poorly if the World Cup curse is present, there's just no denying how amazing the French squad is in every department. Now going on to Denmark. I know I praise this side a lot, and I'm going to be praising them yet again. Lots of depth that seems to be ignored by some people, even in the defense. At the moment, Denmark have 3 defenders in the Premier League. Christensen, who will be leaving Chelsea, but you still got Vestergaard and Andersen. Kjær, who had a remarkable Euro run, but has now suffered a very long injury. Hopefully, we will see the best of him in his return. Victor Nelson on Galatasaray. Mila, a versatile pressing fullback on Atalanta. Many, many more to name. This list can go on for a while. And look, I know Denmark did just have a friendly against Netherlands where they lost 4-2, but that was just a friendly. Normally, they do all right for themselves in the back. I don't know if the depth is S material, but I will be giving them an A for sure. Now for Tunisia, for me, it's pretty much the same argument as Iran. I'm just going to say right now, I think they deserve a C ranking. This side gels very well together collectively, but when you compare the quality from them to the other squads, it's hard to rank them super high. I'm sorry. There's a lot of leader-like figures in the team though. In the back, Dylan Braun comes to mind as he captains his club. Overall though, it's pretty hard to judge Tunisia's performances recently, as in the Africa Cup of Nations, they had a massive COVID outbreak, some injuries in the World Cup qualifiers. But with that being said, even with all of that struggles, they still managed to beat Nigeria in the round of 16s. It definitely feels harsh to put this side all the way at the bottom. They deserve some recognition. I'm going to say C ranking. Now for the playoff teams, I'll try to be brief. I know I didn't do such a good job for the Euro teams, but let's start off with Peru. This is known to be a very physical team, going with all the belief in the world in every single matchup. Recently, they've had every match come close, but they also had some terrible results in the Copa America to Brazil and Colombia, conceding many goals. Seems like in recent times, though, they fixed their issues, playing now with the utmost confidence. With some hardworking players such as Trauco, Advíncula, and Boca Juniors, plus others, if they end up qualifying for the World Cup, I see them having a very similar run compared to 2018, where if they end up even losing, they still will cut every match very, very close. I'm going to be giving them a B. They definitely will be making every single team struggle, whether or not they win or lose, if they end up qualifying. Now for Australia, okay, I'm going to keep this brief, and I don't like bashing on this team. I low-key am rooting for them. But Australia really are not at their best at the moment, and the defense isn't anything to show off about. Bottom for me. Now for the United Arab Emirates. Although this side should be very proud that they're still in contention to qualify for the World Cup, they did cut it really close, didn't they? Comparing their defenders to the other teams in this tournament, with all due respect, is a bit of a tricky task. You've obviously got the captain Walid Abbas in the back who can lead his team to glory, but sorry UAE, I'm putting you at the bottom along with Australia. Let's move on to Group B now, starting off with Germany. Germany defensively are obviously going through a bit of a transition period. There's no more Hummels. He hasn't been in the squad since the Hansi Flick takeover. There's still a lot of depth though to rely on this team. Maybe not as potent as in the S category, but I'm going to be giving Germany an A. Rudiger is the most regarded one at the moment. You got also Sol, Ginter, Kerher, Ta, Schlotterbeck. Germany love to utilize their center back options, and now with the Hansi Flick takeover, he has a lot of work to do to decide who to end up starting. I think it's definitely quality players all around, but in the A category for me. Not enough to be an S for now. Rudiger maybe needs, like, for example, a prime Jerome Boateng along with him. Now for Spain. Oh man, the Spanish wall is something else. Always has and always will be. The addition of Laporte is such a huge boost in the first place. He's a very gifted center back. Unknown if Sergio Ramos will end up being in the squad, but you can't leave him out of the mentions. Pau Torres has been vital for Villarreal this year. Experienced players such as Jordi Alba and Azpilicueta younger talent like Eric Garcia who can be utilized. Carvajal has some people in question, but we still see him turn up fairly often. We'll see if he ends up being selected for the squad as well. Regardless of the fact that Spain have all these options that they might not even be bringing to the tournament is amazing. Definitely S tier for me. Now for Japan, this side has such a huge task in this World Cup to possibly top Spain and or Germany. It's not going to be an easy task. Although this side defensively has proven their worth in the Asia qualifiers, it's been a while since we've seen this country play against others around the world. In Copa America in 2019, they conceded quite a bit, as well as the World Cup 2018. But maybe Japan have improved a bit since then. Obviously, Tomiyasu has been stepping up to the big occasion. Captain Yoshida has been leading his team to glorious moments. But with history against the other teams around the world, I do see Japan relying on thrilling matches similar to what we've seen against Belgium in the last World Cup to maybe make it out of this group. I'm not too sure how they can handle top sides like Spain and Germany to keep a possible narrow scoreline. It's hard to judge this side as it's been a while, like I said, since we've seen them compete against teams from elsewhere in the world apart from Asia, but I'm going to be giving Japan a C. Now for Costa Rica. We have seen historically this side comes together brilliantly. Almost 8 years ago, but their CONCACAF fairy tale was fantastic. Oviedo and Copenhagen. Experienced Kendall Watson. Ronald Mataria. Costa Rica don't have many big names, sure, but they get the job fairly done many times. They get a C for me. Now for New Zealand. I'm giving them a D. I'm so sorry. It's just too hard to judge this side. We haven't seen enough of them apart from the Oceania qualifiers. Now let's move on to Group F. Starting off with Belgium. If this were a few years ago, I would rank this team very highly. However, the defense is very much questioned this year with the golden generation disintegrating and all that. We might not see the likes of Alderweireld and Vertonghen be at their best. No more legendary Vincent Kompany. Yes, they've still got Jason Denayer and some other young talent who are looking in form, such as Arthur Thiete and Wout Faes. It's not enough though for me. We'll see how the next few months roll around before the World Cup starts. But I'm going to have to give Belgium a B ranking for this video. It's not to the same caliber and degree as we once knew them to be, and I think the defense could be a weak point for Belgium this year. Now for Morocco. This pick might surprise some of you. I'm going to be very nice to Morocco in this video and give them an A. Hakimi is obviously the biggest talking point of the national team, a phenomenal fullback. There's also Romain Saiss on Wolves, Aguerd on Rennes, Massina on Watford, Vidal on Sporting, obviously no more Benatia, and sometimes Morocco do concede quite a bit. But this seemed to me on paper, if they get their tactics right, they can potentially shut down other teams in this group. Yeah, I'm giving them an A. It might be a surprise to some of you as I rank them low in my predictions, but that also might change as well. I heard that Halil Hodzic might be leaving now. Damn. Now for Canada. Apart from Alphonso Davies, who doesn't even always play in the back for the national team, the backline does consist of some hidden gems. Sam Adekugbe playing in the Turkish League, Richie Lyra on Nottingham Forest, Alistair Johnson on Montreal. John Herman does a fantastic job organizing his backline to look like one of the best defensive units in CONCACAF. We'll see how they hold up in Qatar, but Canada should have faith in themselves. Still though, with that being said, a lot of the Canada players that are talked about quite a bit are not really in the defensive department, apart from Alphonso Davies, but like I said, we'll see if he even plays there. I'm going to be somewhat generous and give Canada a B for this video. They topped the World Cup qualifiers. It might be hard to judge them now because we haven't really seen them play against other teams around the world, but they definitely have potential to prove themselves. Canada, a B for me, might be a bit extreme. I gave all these teams in this group some high praise so far. Obviously did Belgium a little bit dirty, but come on. Now for Croatia. Very interesting country to analyze as this really is a new generation for the defense. Whenever people bring up that our squad is aging and that we might be screwed in this World Cup, we always have to argue that there actually is some new talent coming through, and most of that is in the back line. Gvardiol, Chaletatsar, and Sosa are my go-to examples. Who knows if Dalic will decide to utilize that 2018 partnership at any points, which consisted of Lovren and Vida. Regardless, I have more belief in Croatia's backline than our attack to impress me at the World Cup, so I'm going to be giving them a B. Maybe it will be a bit trickier as our defenders can look like gods at some moments, but then make the silliest errors. Maybe some people will rate Croatia lower, but I think a B is deserved. Now, for the terrifying Brazil. What a side. Some people may argue that still the defense isn't looking too strong. Militao maybe doesn't always deliver, and then some people might be saying that it's an aging squad like Thiago Silva, but Thiago Silva is still at the top of his game. Marquinhos, yes, he fumbled the bag against Real Madrid, but he still is a top center back. Even if he does not end up turning up, you still got a lot of warriors in that position. Felipe, the Gabriels, Diego Carlos, many, many more. Interesting fullback options as well, as Lodi has impressed me a lot this year. This side, just like Argentina, haven't lost a single World Cup qualifier match. Brazil is an S for me. Look, they're one of the favorites to win the entire tournament, rightfully so. Expectations is high, but I think the defense can possibly deliver. Maybe not the strongest point of the national team. Many people focus on that in-depth attack, but Brazil got it defensively for me. Now for Serbia. This might come as a surprise for some of you, but I actually don't rate the Serbian defense as highly as some of you might be thinking. I'm going to be giving them a C ranking for this video. Yeah, I got to be harsh to the Serbian defense. As to me, the defense is possibly one of their weaker points in the national team, and funny enough, it used to not be at all. As of now, all the attention is focused on the attack in the midfield. Yes, they've got underrated goalkeepers, but their defense honestly looked stronger in the past. No more Kolarov is a downgrade to me. Who knows, the Fiorentina boys Milenkovic and Nastasic can pull through in the center back role. There's also the other underrated talent there like Pavlovic, Veljkovic, but sorry Serbia, this might be one of the few times I'll quote-unquote upset you. I still think the defense can pull through, don't get me wrong, but if we're comparing it to the other national teams, Serbia should not be praised for their back line. Now for Switzerland, possibly the most underrated national team in Europe. Very solid defensive options such as Akanji, Elvedi, Ricardo Rodriguez, Mbabu, Comert, Lotomba, Schär, Windmer. With the quality they have along with the unity, we've seen this side come through for some amazing matchups. You still do get the occasional inconsistencies though. Still a top side, but I'm going to be giving Switzerland a B ranking. Now for Cameroon. With no Matip, this is a hard Cameroon defense to judge. There are still decent options such as Mokodi, Oyongo, Ngateo, Castelletto. It still is a very strong African side, don't get me wrong, but their defense to me does not compare to the midfield or the attack. I'm giving Cameroon a C. Now for Portugal. I say it in nearly every video. The main issue that I have with this national team that worries me about them performing well is the manager Santos. On paper, the defense is looking fantastic. You've got the two stars on Manchester City, Ruben Diaz and Joao Cancelo. Veteran Pepe, who we've seen fighting for his life every time, just won the league with Porto as well. At left back, there's Nuno Mendes, young fullback on PSG, or Guerrero on Dortmund. The only thing that might be stopping me from giving Portugal an S is maybe they don't have as much depth. But even with that being said, I do think the starting options Portugal can utilize if they're available for the World Cup make up for it. I'm definitely giving Portugal an S for this video. Now moving on to South Korea, most of their defenders do play in the Korean League. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really watch much of the Korean League. You still got Kim Min-jae who plays on Fenerbahce though, and Kwon Kyun-won who plays in Japan. However, I do know that this defense in Asian matchups performs, and sometimes struggles when they have to play other countries around the world. In 2018, they conceded 2 goals against Mexico in the World Cup, then played another friendly in 2020 where they conceded another 2 goals. They conceded 2 goals against Panama after World Cup 2018 as well. Look, that was a long time ago. The squad has obviously developed since then. They have been impressing me recently, but along with some of my other picks, I am a little bit afraid that they haven't been tested enough yet. I'll give South Korea a C, as they definitely have potential to break down these teams in the World Cup. I just don't know if they compare to the other teams on paper, and yeah, I gotta see how they play in some friendlies, hopefully before the World Cup. Now for Uruguay, a very, very interesting back line. You've got aging players like Godin and Cáceres, but then you've got Araujo stepping in and has been very solid for Barcelona. Jimenez, who is at his supposedly prime age to shine. You've got experience and prodigies mixed together for a lot of depth. I'm giving Uruguay an A. You've got to give this side respect. And finally, the last team we're looking at, Ghana. With some of the quality Ghana possess, you'd expect them to be better than they are. They were knocked out of their group in AFCON, though, and struggled even against teams like Comoros. But this side did look a lot better when they had to play Nigeria in the qualifiers, obviously. Solid options on paper like Aido on Celta Vigo, Amartey on Leicester City. With the talent they have, though, I think they should be better. I'm hearing a lot of talk about Ghana getting some upgrades in the team, like Hudson Odoi, maybe Inaki Williams. Offensively, not hearing too much. I'm giving Ghana a D. I'm sorry. So here's my final list, guys. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This list was not easy to make. Defense is probably the hardest position to judge in terms of these rankings, so hopefully the other videos will be easier. But as always, these are just my thoughts, which could end up aging terribly as we still have 6 months to go until the World Cup. Let's see what happens. But yeah, very excited for this tournament. Let me know your thoughts as always in the comments below. Thank you all for making it to the end. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care. Lá com noite.